What's up, boys and girls? Welcome back. Okay, the Osight C, which is the newest version with the RMR footprint, and the Osight K, newest version for the RMSC footprint. These are going to get really difficult to keep track of soon. You have the Osight S, the SE, the K, you have the Osight X, now the Osight C. It's going to get a little confusing here to start keeping track of which one is which, but I'm going to pull up some graphics here to help you see the differences between these and their predecessors. Full disclosure, I had an emergency work trip this week. I did not get to do all of my content that I wanted to produce around this. However, the flash sale goes live today. All right, so I did want to get this in front of you just so you're aware that these new versions even exist in case you're not, and also let you know about that flash sale. I will have full coverage of both of these new models coming here as soon as I can get them into my content calendar. Right, so there is a link in the video description down below. I'll also pin a comment so you can go to the flash sale detail page and see all of the details. There is a ton of stuff that is on sale, all right? They had a new product and they actually pulled it out of this flash sale. I do have that, but it's now been re-embargoed, so I can't show it to you just yet. When that gets re-released, I guess, I'll bring that back to you. But a whole bunch of new stuff in this sale, link in the description and pinned comment down below. All right, let's take a look at the Osight C first and compare it to its predecessor. So up here on the screen, the Osight X is the predecessor on the left side, and the Osight C, this newest version, is on the right side. Just a couple things to draw your attention to. So one of the biggest differences here is in the dot interface, all right? The Osight X had a 2 MOA dot with a 32 MOA circle. The Osight C can do a 3 MOA dot with a 32 MOA circle, and it can also run the dot without the circle or the circle without the dot, so that is new. Now on the top of the C here, you'll notice that there is not one of those charging ports, nor does it come with that dock that kind of clips onto the top. So this one, again, you can see I haven't even pulled the tab out of there yet. They have included an internal replaceable battery on this, unlike the non-replaceable and exterior recharging capabilities of the predecessor. It uses a 1632 battery, which I've heard some people say that it's really not the standard and they wish they would have gone with something a little bit more standard there. However, where the predecessor only had about 22,000 hours of battery life, they've got this one up to 30,000 hours. It does still have the shake to wake feature, so if it's on your bedside or on your nightside to stand, after I think it's 3 minutes, it'll cut off, and then as soon as it gets movement, so as soon as you pick that firearm up, the dot comes back on before you can even get up and get a sight picture. So a little bit there to save battery. And I'm curious if the 30,000 hours, I have not been able to find it, is with both the dot and the circle on, all right? I know with just the dot and taking away the circle, battery life goes pretty exponential, okay? The dot takes much, much less energy to display than the circle does. So I'm not sure. If anybody does know, post it in the comments down below. Oh, never mind. It was buried in a menu that I had to expand. It's actually with just the dot, 100,000 hours. So the 30,000 hours is with the dot and the circle. If you just run the dot, you get 100,000 hours of battery life. Now the predecessor has 10 daylight modes and 2 night vision modes. This version has 8 daylight modes and still 2 night vision modes. And they also reduced the size of the window by 3 millimeters, all right? That was actually a pretty good move on their part. So I had mentioned before that the other one just looked like a damn sail out on top of, a firearm. So this one is it's maybe a tiny bit bigger, or just looks bigger because it doesn't have the little sweep there, than a traditional RMR, but this is a much more appropriate size. And last but not least, maybe even the biggest upside of this is it's $50 cheaper than its predecessor. Okay, let's look at the Osight K. I'm going to bring up a very similar chart. On the far left is the Osight S, then you have the SE in the middle there, and you have this new Osight K, all right? And what you'll notice is there was a 2 MOA dot with a 32 MOA circle on both of the previous versions. The Osight K, only a 6 MOA dot. There is no circle option, all right? Similarly, we went from 10 daylight modes and 2 night vision on the original version, 8 and 2 on the SE, and still 8 and 2 on the K. Look at this battery life. So it went from about 22,000 hours on the original S, 46,000 hours on the SE, and a whopping 63,000 hours on the K. And again, that's because it does not have that circle. That circle requires a lot more energy to produce, so they were able to get it up significantly by removing that. Again, this sits on the RMS C footprint, so think of like your SIG P365s, your X macros, things like that. And where the original Osight S was $249, the SE was $179, this guy comes in at $159. So apologies because that work trip did get in the way of me doing kind of a more full review on these. So that is the high level. That link is in the description below if you do want to pick one of these up during the flash sale. And that's it, guys. If you like this kind of content, please consider subscribing down below. I do a ton of giveaways on this channel. Unfortunately for this flash sale, they did not send me enough to do giveaways. I only have the 2 for my own review purposes, but I do a lot of giveaways on this channel. There's also a link in the description to my newsletter. I do not spam you. I just let you know when giveaways go live. So thank you for your time watching. As always, got a lot more to come, and I'll see you in the next one.